Wow, what happened to that?
Yeah, I had to cut it, man.
Oh my
Somebody got tangled up in my anchor line, and the only way to release it was to cut this line.
Wow.
Think you can rebuild that for me?
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, cool. What's up, George?
Nice to see you again.
Good. How are you? Good. Good.
Awesome.
You got that anchor bridle for me?
Order ready. Looks great.
Let's check this out. Look at that, like brand new. So, what else do they call this? They call it an anchor bridle. They call it a snub.
An anchor snubber.
Anchor snubber. All right. So this is your anchor snubber, or some people call it an anchor bridle. And in this video, we're going to show you how to use it, why you want to use it, and we're going to show you why we're picking it up being rebuilt and why we had to cut it last time in this video. Here we go. We're back on the master plan, and we have our anchor bridle that's been repaired. I'm going to explain to you why we had to cut it in a few minutes, but let's first talk about what it is and what it does. It can be called an anchor bridle or an anchor snubber, or just a snubber, but it's basically a three-point contraption. We've got two eyelets that are going to go to our cleats on our boat. One here, and then on the other end is the clasp that's going to connect to the chain. Once we connect the eyelets to the cleats and connect the clasp to the chain, we're going to let the chain out, and that's going to basically extend this, and this is what will essentially be holding the boat in place, instead of the pressure being on the windlass, which, as you can see right now, because the anchor is tight, the chain is tight. But we're going to relieve that. So let's just do that. Let's get started with the assembly. All right, so this is the clasp that's going to go on the chain. I'm just going to set this here for now. And of course, we want our ropes outside the rails, so I'm going to go over, connect it to the cleats, run it through my guide. That stays there. To the other side, over the rail. Connect to the cleat, and then run it through the guide. Then all I have to do is take my clasp and run it over the end of the boat, like so, and connect it to the chain. All right, so we got the clasp on the chain, got a little line out, and we're just gonna let our chain out and let the anchor bridle take the tension. And so now what's happening is the anchor bridle is actually taking the tension, and the chain is just hanging. So this is going to serve a couple of purposes. All right, so we let out the chain. As you can see, there's no tension on the windlass. The chain is actually creating like a weight, and it's going to hold the anchor line a little bit lower to the ground, which is better for the anchor getting grip. All right, so this is going to do a couple of things for us. One, if we were in bad weather, this is going to create a couple levels of security, and it's going to create some spring. So the weight of the chain is going to hold the line a little bit lower. So you want a lower angle on your anchor. You don't want your line holding up. That's why you drop either 5 to 7 times the depth of the water of chain length. But this is going to help drop it down a little bit lower. Also, if we were in bad weather, the wind was blowing, or if there was, rocky seas or anything like that, if it was choppy, instead of yanking on the chain directly from the windlass, and it being solid, this is going to create a little bit of a spring because it's going to change the angle of the chain. Now, let's say it was really bad weather and it was just straight out holding on full pressure. The ropes are a little more flexible than the chain, so that's going to create your second layer of spring. Now, if the weather was so bad that it was going to break these lines, which I doubt that would happen, probably rip the cleats out first, but if it did, then you still have your chain in place, and of course you always want to lock it so that you know it's not going anywhere. Now, let's talk about why we had to cut this thing in the first place. Well, you see, a friend of ours showed up, and when he was anchoring, he got a little bit too close to us. So the main chain that goes to the anchor, past the bridle, got caught between his rudder and his prop. And there was nothing that we could do about it. The wind was blowing, the chain was tight, it was up in there, I dove down there, and there was nothing we could do to let it go. So what we did was we cut the anchor bridle, and because of the excess chain that's hanging down there, it dropped the chain and his boat was able to get away free. So that's why we cut the anchor bridle in the first place. That's why we use the anchor bridle. And if you found this information helpful, listen, subscribe to our channel, MASTERPLAN Miami, because we got a lot of stories to tell and a lot of adventure that awaits.